Now I would like to introduce our speaker for today. Many of you have been coming here for this program and you are familiar. For the benefit of everyone, I would like to once again introduce His Grace Gauranga Das. He has passed his B.Tech from IIT Bombay, Powai in 1992. While he was undergoing his education at IIT, he was introduced to the timeless principles and teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedic life through the devotees he met of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness and the books of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. After he completed his education from there, graduated, he worked at Kirloskar's as a manager for a short while. Seeing the deplorable condition of today's society and feeling convinced within his heart that spiritual principles are the only solution for the maladies of the day, he decided to dedicate his life completely to serve this purpose. So in the year 1994, he was initiated into the spiritual order by one of the senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. After having taken initiation, he joined as a full-time member at the Gauranga Chowpatty branch of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Within no time, he emerged and established himself as a powerful teacher of the Vedic principles. He has traveled very widely within India and also abroad, speaking at all the major universities and various places and to a variety of audiences all over the planet. He has made presentations to corporate managers at establishments like Infosys and Microsoft. Many of you must be familiar with his face because he has also featured regularly, he is featuring regularly in television programs Atma serial on Sony TV, Star TV, I'm sorry, and also in many other channels like Astha TV and so on. Whenever he is in Bombay, he conducts regular sessions at the IIT in Powai and at other places. Since the last 3 years, he has been coming to Bhaktivedanta Hospital to give spiritual guidance and inspiration to medical professionals and their families to understand the principles of the Bhagavad Gita and to practice them in their daily lives. I can say without any doubt that he is an authority by his words and by his example on the teachings of the Gita. So ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, I would like to give you His Grace Gauranga Prabhu.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vranda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. A very good morning to all the assembled guests. My respected greetings to Dr. Shingare, our chief guest, and other honorable guests who have assembled this morning for yet another invigorating, inspiring session which has been conceived by the management of this unique hospital to provide various types of inputs for self-improvement, which is a continuous process for any thinking human being. So the topic I have chosen this morning is helping successful people change. And for good reason, because I am speaking to a group of doctors here. And by standards of conventional society, it is a dream of any young man. Society considers it to be a success. Each one of you are aware of the great responsibility you are carrying. And plus, as Dr. Bhosle was reading the list of achievements in the name of Dr. Shingare, you can see that here is an example of success. So this entire concept is a human being is always trying to improve himself, expand the horizons of his achievements. So there is no end to the extent to which we can strive for improvement and change. But there are certain unique difficulties involved in trying to help successful people make changes. And that is exactly the reason why we have chosen this topic. So we'll begin with our first slide. And I have here some symptoms of successful leaders. And across the board, these are some of the symptoms. This is just a short list. It may be more than this. They're intelligent, they're highly dedicated, persistent, committed to the success of their company or organization for which they are working. They have high degree of personal integrity, and they are considered to be financially independent. And the list goes on and on and on, but these are some typical symptoms. So generally we find that a person struggles a lot to achieve this state, and fortunate are the ones who are able to come to this state of being professionals, and what to speak of being successful professionals. And therefore a lot of benefits come along with this, and it is the privilege, the hard-earned privilege of this class of people. Just like the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, he tells one story that there was this boy who wanted to become a doctor, but somehow he could not fulfill his dream and his aspiration. And the parents were having a difficult time getting him married. So many proposals came. Then they would all ask, okay, what is the boy doing? And then they would say that he's doing such and such a thing, and nobody would agree. And then finally the parents decided it is becoming too much. By speaking the truth, we are having a tough time. So the next party came, and the girl's side asked, what does the boy do? And the parents said, he's a doctor. And immediately they were impressed. And the alliance went ahead, the match got fixed, and then finally the marriage also took place. And after the marriage, the first day, the wife sees that the husband is wearing khaki dress and going out. And she gets bewildered. He said, hey, I thought you were a doctor. And he said, yes, I'm a conductor. And Prabhupada says that it is a dream of people to become doctor, but when they can't fulfill their dream, then they settle for something else. But the desire to establish oneself as successful is extremely strong. And therefore, a class of people who have come to that state is very unique and very, very rare. And therefore, it is all the more important that we understand this principle very clearly, because the kind of responsibility we carry with us is immense. During the communist regime, there was this famous anecdote that in the communist regime, the farmers and those who were peasants, they hardly had anything, and poverty was rampant all over communist Russia. So there is this description of one of these communist leaders who is visited by a foreign counterpart. So the foreign minister from a West Bloc country visits USSR, and the home minister of Russia takes him for a tour, goes to a village, they meet one villager. And now the home minister wants to establish how communism is superior. So he calls upon his dear friend, the foreign minister, and says, now I will tell you how communism is greater than capitalism. And he said, what will you do? He said, just see the attitude of this farmer whom we are going to interview. So they knock upon a door of a hut, farmer comes out. And this Russian home minister, he starts asking this farmer, so my dear sir, if you had 2 refrigerators, will you not give one to your neighbor? And he said, yes, of course, I would do that. He's my brother. Then he said, if you had 2 cars, would you not give one to your neighbor? He said, yes, of course I would do that. And he said, if you had 20 acres of land, would you not share 10 acres with your neighbor? He said, yes, of course I would do that. If you had 2 cows, will you not give one to your neighbor? He said, no, I will never do that. He said, oh, why? He said, because I have 2 cows. And all the other things, they are just concepts which I have heard of, and I don't mind giving something which I don't have. So what is the problem? Yes, it is all for everyone to share. Why? Because I don't have it. Take whatever you want. So during the communist regime, the theme was everything belongs to the state. So what people didn't have, they were willing to share with the state. Because that is the tendency of the conditioned soul. There is a selfish desire. Therefore, in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, the word is used swartha. Swartha means self-interest. So a conditioned soul generally is under the impression that I will work for my self-interest. But what is the real self-interest? Very few people realize. So here our communist friend was thinking that by sharing and by giving, I will be losing my self-interest in one way. Although the state had a different philosophy. But if we realize that by doing a certain activity, our self-interest is going to be enhanced, we will be convinced about it and we will put our heart and soul into it. Therefore, when we talk of change, the first principle to be understood is we are bringing upon this topic of change as a self-improvement exercise. It is going to be value-added incentive to your already successful life. We are not going to take away anything from what you have achieved positive in your life. But through this presentation and through the knowledge and the technology which is made available through this information, you are simply going to add positivity in your life and shed away tons of negativity, as we shall discuss during the course of this talk. Go ahead. So the question is, why change? To increase effectiveness by changing certain elements of our behavior. So all of us have certain typical nature and symptoms. And therefore, when we talk of change, we are trying to incorporate change in this manner to increase effectiveness more than anything else. So the nature is that we want to play it safe, and then we are afraid that if we make some changes, then things will not be as they are now. Like in one of our youth lectures, one of our stalwart youth preachers, H.H.Radhanath Prabhu, he was telling this story that there was this farmer. He went to the veterinary doctor and said that I have this lazy bull. He's so lazy, whatever I try to do, he never gets up and never works. So the doctor gave him a pill, said okay, that will take care of him. So next week again this man came running, and the doctor said, what happened? And the farmer said, you gave this pill and now the bull is running so fast, you have to give me one more pill so that I can run with it. Because to catch up with it is not possible. And that is a fear which most of us may have. That okay, right now everything is stable, nice, cozy. But if certain things in my life change, then things may become so drastic, I may not be able to keep up with it. And therefore, let me continue as it is. So therefore, 4 underlying beliefs of successful people. I choose to succeed, I can succeed, I will succeed, and I have succeeded. And what it leads to success? These principles which we may have, which leads to success, can at the same time inhibit change. And that is how we will discuss in the coming slides. So let us see the first one. I choose to succeed. This psychology indicates that successful people have a high need for self-determination. They are proactive, take decisions, execute things. They have a distaste for feeling controlled, and they need to have a personal commitment to change. Generally, there are things and there are people. Things can be controlled and people cannot be controlled. People need to be loved. But the day we are living today, the paradox is we are trying to control people and love things, when the opposite should be true. We should be loving people and trying to control things. And therefore we find that in families, in organization, in various kinds of interactions and societies, as soon as people start coming together, there are difficulties and problems. Why? Because we try to deal with people the way we try to deal with machines and things. Machines can be switched on and switched off as per our whims and fancies. The volume of this amplifier can be turned higher and lower as I want. The switch on this microphone can be switched on and on again. That is within my control. But when I am dealing with people, if I feel like switching them off, I can't do it. If I want to do a certain kind of interaction with them, I cannot whimsically do, just like I would do with machines. Therefore, it is a fantasy to imagine that I want someone to change in a certain way and I just tell him, these are the things you must do, and he changes immediately. He's not a machine that I push some buttons and it happens automatically. Therefore, go ahead. There is a concept called cognitive dissonance. And this is very much related to the last point I made in the last slide. that unless I get a personal commitment from the person, I will desire to change. That is not possible. So more we are committed to believe that something is true, less likely we are willing to change our beliefs. I will try to explain what is this cognitive dissonance. So every successful person has one characteristic feature, and that is he is dedicated and persistent. He believes in something strongly and will work hard to achieve it. This quality helps him overcome all obstacles, opposition, various criticisms which may come in the pursuit of his goal. That is his strength. This stubbornness, this dedicatedness, this persistence is his strength. And therefore we find that there are so many examples of people who have gone against all odds and they have done what they wanted to do and achieved the practically impossible because of this persistence. But this same persistence and dedication can actually be a negative factor when it comes to the subject matter of change. So when a person should be changing, he thinks that no, my path is the only path. And so far I have done what I have done and come to this state, why should I change? So that same persistence, that same non-caring for all kinds of criticism and other comments continues even when he should be listening to what others are saying at this state. So that is known as cognitive dissonance. And this prevents a person from taking positive feedback. For example, the beautiful illustration of this is in the country of Japan. After World War II, all of us know that Japan was devastated. There was practically no industry remaining. And after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the morale of the whole country was down. Somehow with their persistence and dedication, they turned it all around and Japan became one of the world powers in economy. In the 80s, the Japanese economy touched such a high, all over the world managers were glorifying. Seminars were being conducted on how Japan achieved such levels of efficiency and technological proficiency. Visits were being made by teams of managers from all over the world to come to Japan and learn on site. So this was a clear-cut example of success. Now in the 90s, the world trends changed, technologies changed, economy started moving in different directions, and it became very clear that the Japanese style of management, which was successful in the 80s, is not going to be successful in the 90s. People in different parts of the world realized it and started changing. But because Japan had been so much glorified for its success, and the Japanese managers had worked hard to create this system, they just could not see the reality. And although the numbers were showing that the economy was dropping and other countries were picking up, especially China, Korea and other parts, but by the end of the 90s, the Japanese really took it seriously and admitted, yes, we need to change. And then gradually things started changing. Therefore, that same dedication and persistence which helped them achieve that success became a negative factor when they should actually have been changing. So this is the concept of cognitive dissonance. So the second principle is, I can succeed. Successful people believe that they have the internal capacity to make desirable things happen. They have the motivation and ability to change their world. But this also results in what is known as superstitious behavior. And one confuses correlation with causality. I'll explain what this means. So, successful people do not wait for things to happen, they make things happen. But the negative effect of this is that, okay, now I am successful, I am earning a lot of money, I have attained certain status in society, people respect me. But to come to this state, when I am at this age of 35 or 40 or whatever, all through my life I have had certain habits, I have had certain behavior, I have been doing certain kinds of things, and in spite of all this, still I have come to this state. Therefore now, if I change my habits, so even my success ratio may change. So that is known as superstitious behavior. Like for example, if a student thinks that I have to stay awake at night to study for my exams, and to help me stay awake, let me drink chai all night and smoke cigarettes. So he smokes and then he also drinks tea, and somehow he is able to stay awake, and then he passes exam. And what to speak of passing exam, he gets distinction. Now he has got distinction because of his hard work and persistence, but along with that there is also a lifestyle and habit of smoking. So now if you meet this person and say, hey, smoking is not good for health, you should quit, he will say, hey, come on, because I was smoking, I got distinction. That will be his conclusion. And then you say, no, come on, for the next semester you should not smoke. Then he starts thinking, if I quit smoking, then maybe I may not get distinction. Because last time I was smoking and it was a lucky factor. It was very important for me. So therefore, although there is no direct relation, causality, you can't say that smoking has been the cause of his getting distinction. It is just a correlation. It just happened to be one of the events which happens when he was also studying. But he thinks that is one of the very important causes of my getting distinction. So similarly, if we tell people when they are right through their life and have achieved certain status and success, that okay, what are your beliefs in life? All my life I have been an atheist, all my life I have been an agnostic, but still I became a doctor, still I became successful, still I am earning money. So all through my life, by being an atheist and agnostic, I have got what I wanted in life. So why do you want me to change now? So if I change now, maybe my other things will also change. Therefore better I keep things as it is. So that is known as superstitious behavior. So like, all these tennis stars and cricket stars and all of these other people, they have certain superstitions. They will enter into the court only through a certain door. They will put a certain foot forward first, although it has no logical reasoning. Or they will bounce the ball a certain number of times, before they begin. So all these kinds of superstitions are attached to certain results. Right? So every person has a certain kind of thing to do. Or like taxi driver, you may see, before he begins he will offer some pranams and chant few mantras, like that. So just like when they do the shooting, the makeup man, he also comes. So before he begins, he touches your forehead and does some puja to your head and then prays something, and then he starts, because that is part of his ritual. So all of us have created a set of rituals, and we think these are all connected to our ultimate success. And that prevents us from changing when we should be changing. because we are afraid that changing those habits may change the result of what I've been getting so far: money, success, fame, prestige, etc., etc. That is a big problem. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur tells a nice story. In a house, the husband was very much spiritually inclined, and he used to always invite sadhus to his home. And the wife was totally against sadhus. So it so happened that once the husband was away and many sadhus came to the house, and the wife thought, today is a good day to stop this sadhu business in the house forever. So she told these sadhus, please have a seat. And the sadhu said, where is your husband? He said, he is not there, but I will just get something for you. So she went inside, and then she came out, and she started looking here and there, and the sadhus were wondering, what are you looking for? And she was carrying this chimta in her hand, which tongs for making chapati. So she said, I just made some chapatis, but I am trying to hide this chimta, under some sofa or some of these places. And the sadhu said, you are supposed to use this for making chapatis, why are you hiding it? And she said, actually, my husband, he doesn't like sadhus at all. He hates them. And whenever they come to our house, he has a certain ritual of welcoming them. He takes these chapati chimtas, heats it on the gas, and then with the hot tongs goes and twists their nose. But I have great compassion for you. You seem to be great sadhus. I don't want you to go through this torture. You don't worry. Once I hide it, nothing will happen. It is safe to be sitting here. And when they heard this, they got bewildered. Said, my God, this is a deadly place. Why have we come here? They just got up and said, we are leaving, madam, because we are fasting today. We won't be eating anything. And they started walking out. As they started walking out, the husband came in. And the husband saw sadhus were running away with a scared look on the face. Husband asked the wife, hey, what happened? Wife said, strange sadhus. Sadhus generally beg for alms. These sadhus were begging for our chimta. And they said, we want the chapati chimta. I said, hey, if I give you this chimta, what I will use to make for my husband? So I refused. So they became angry and they are walking away. Husband said, you foolish lady, just a simple chimta they were asking, you couldn't give it to them? I am ready to give my life to them. I will personally go and give it to them. So he took the chimta in his hands, walked out, and started running behind the sadhus with the chimta. Hey, please take this, please take this. And the sadhus looked behind and saw. He said, my God, this fellow is a maniac. He's going beyond the walls of his house and chasing us on the street. And they ran as fast as possible, never to come back again. So Bhagavad Thakur describes that sometimes a person is so averse to change, so averse to certain activities, that he may go to any extent not to allow that change in himself and even to inhibit change in others. And therefore, to create a transformation and change means allowing a certain sequence to take place. But if we don't allow that, then nothing will actually manifest. So therefore, this confusion of correlation with causality has to be understood. So do not think that by making certain changes in your personal lifestyle, your whole career is going to be affected in a negative way. That is known as superstitious thinking. When I will succeed, successful people have an unflappable sense of optimism, self-confidence, and they have an ability to communicate this contagious sense of optimism to others. But there is a problem that successful people may also sometimes overcommit, and there may be an overload of responsibilities which they may accept. And because of this,
They're always struggling with no time and fatigue syndrome. So therefore, this self-confidence is a very important principle. There is a story of Michelangelo.
He was very, very successful as a painter. But it is described that he had a rival whose name was Bramante, and he was very envious of Michelangelo as an architect. So at that time in Italy, the Pope who was reigning, Vatican, was Pope Julius. And Pope Julius gave a responsibility of a project to Michelangelo. For that, he had to collect marble. Michelangelo entered into the caves which were filled with Italian marble. He started sorting out, cutting and selecting those specific stones which took 8 months. But when he came out, the Pope had already cancelled that contract. And he asked why. And it seemed that Bramante had brainwashed the Pope against this project. So then after some time, the Pope came up with another idea. And this was a very, very complex project which would have taken months together. And Bramante thought, this is very good. If Michelangelo gets stuck in this, public will never know him for the rest of his life. So he just offered him that project. Pope Julius said, okay, you take this project. And Michelangelo started working on it. He knew this is a trap. They want me to work on this so that nobody will ever recognize me. And then this went on for months and years together. And what came out was the most incredible part of Vatican Church, which people even now visit and consider it to be classic. But it is so incredible that at that time nobody would have imagined it is possible. But because he had that self-confidence that yes, an optimism, I will achieve it against all odds. So therefore, when a person has this principle, then he has a tendency of accepting more and more activities and less focus on changing oneself and giving time to oneself as far as one's own lifestyle is concerned. Good. And the next principle is, I have succeeded. Successful people have a positive interpretation of their past performance way beyond reality. They are delusional in many ways, in the sense that they may not be the only cause of that success, but because the success is there, they overlook other factors and think, yes, I am personally responsible for this entirely. And the second difficulty is they overrate their own performance. So this is a very, very important principle, that if a person thinks that I am the doer, then that is the beginning of all delusion. Prabhupada gives the example, just like if a child is sitting on father's lap and father is driving the car, the child cannot even reach the accelerator or the brake. Who is driving? Father is driving. He is in control. But the child simply thinks because of touching that yes, I am the doer. All the child is doing is honk the horn, papa, and he looks out at the mother and waves and thinks, wow, just see how I am driving. So similarly, we have some factors within our control, do the needful, but with the support and help of many other factors which is beyond control, certain result comes. But if I think I am whole and soul responsible, then that is known as delusion. And that the danger of overrating comes. And such a person thinks that why to change? So with these 4 kinds of psychology word, why successful people deny importance of disconfirming input. Discomforting actually, not confirming. Discomforting. Discomforting means you don't like a certain input. That hey, you must change here. Hey, this is what you must do in life now. Why? Number one, the person who is giving the input they may consider to be inferior. You are less successful than me. How can you tell me what I should be doing? First show as much success as I have achieved. Then speak something. Or maybe you are saying because you are envious of me. You don't like what I have done. So that may be their, feeling. Second is, the input which comes goes totally against their self-image. Because their image is that of someone who is doing something wonderful, something great. And if you say, but till you do this act, you are actually selfish, and in due course of time everything will be a failure. But that image is against what they have created for themselves. And third is, one may think, okay, he is saying I must change, I must become less angry, I must become less anxious, I must not be so envious, and I must not speak harshly, and I must, give some time for my personal life and this and this. So many suggestions is giving. But ultimately these suggestions are unimportant because I am successful. And what is important in society is to be successful. And because I've already achieved that, what is the use of all of these other talk? That may be true, but compared to the larger truth of being successful, this is all negative and insignificant. So he's saying, give some time for satsang, give some time for spiritual life, do some kind of philosophy and this and that. This is all okay. But ultimately what is important is success. So therefore this is unimportant. Just like a man was in great anxiety. And what was the cause of his anxiety? The cause of his anxiety was he thought he was too simple. What they call in Hindi, lallu. And people were always teasing him, Are lallu, lallu. So simple-minded, naive. So he went to a friend who was a psychiatrist and he said, hey, everyone is teasing me that I'm lallu, I'm naive, innocent, simple. What should I do? So the psychiatrist told him, you just pay me 100 rupees for this one potato. And he will give you this potato and you eat this. And gradually you will change. So he took potatoes for 1 week, paying 100 for each potato. After 1 week he came back and he said, friend, I don't see any change. He said, okay, take quota for 1 month. And this is extra special potato, 200 rupees each. And he was saying, okay, fine. And he took it with him. After 1 month he came back and he said, friend, as far as my nature is concerned, I have not changed. On the other hand, I have gained weight also. So what exactly is going on? He said, don't worry. I have got another set of potatoes, 300 rupees each. And this man said, hey, somehow deep within I am getting a feeling that you are cheating me. So he said, just see how the potato is working. Now you have realized that is the proof that you are no longer lallu, you are no longer simple. You have understood that this is a trap. So we may want to change and we may want to transform. And the first step is, when we want to change, we have to approach someone on whom we have faith. And the biggest problem for someone who is successful is to find that someone who is going to tell me what I should be doing to change. So that is why the successful people deny the importance of discomforting input, because, go ahead. The considerations for helping successful people changes the content of the feedback. It should be something well thought out, and the source of the feedback. That means who gives that feedback or who provides the help. So what is the nature of help which we want to take, and who is the person who is going to tell us what we should be doing to make that change. So both of these two things are extremely important, right? So how you change is a very important principle. So there are some interesting quotes. There is a certain relief in change, even though it be from bad to worse. As I often found in traveling in a stagecoach, it is often comfort to shift one's position and then be bruised in a new place. So the doctor suggested that the health of the eyes seem okay, but because you have been closely reading fine print for too long, you are experiencing difficulty. So from now onwards, do not engage or indulge in close observation, especially of fine print. Go to the countryside and observe things from long perspective. He did that, and in a few months he was cured. So many times, many of our problems happen because we are too short-sighted and our observation is very limited, and we are in our own limited range and space of doing things. And then we become blinded to reality, and we become claustrophobic and in anxiety. Oh, why this is happening? So therefore, you have to look at life from a distance. As there is a famous saying, life is a tragedy from close-up, but comedy from a long shot. Because what sometimes agitates us and makes us sad, traumatic, thinking, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened, so many bad events in this year, and we become morose. But then you look back after decades and you are speaking the same thing to a group of friends in a party and everyone is laughing. But when the event actually takes place, you're not laughing about it. And if you go to a friend and express your difficulty and he starts laughing, you'll break relationship. This is the nature of life. Therefore, a very important aspect of change management is, when I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. I found it was difficult to change, so I tried to change my nation. When I found I couldn't change the nation, I began to focus on my own town. I couldn't change the town, and as an older man, I tried to change my family. But as an old man, I realized the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realized that if long ago I had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family and I could have made impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation, and I could indeed have changed the world. This is the motto for which all of us are striving for, and that is the theme of today's presentation, that I have no control over others. I have no control over systems. Is it not? We may have the most sophisticated technology. We have invented the most sophisticated ways of travel. But do we have control how it operates? Just like in the 80s, there was a series of 2 plane crashes in Pakistan, and that was with the Pakistan International Airlines. The motto for which all of us are striving for, and that is the theme of today's presentation, that I have no control over others. I have no control over systems. Is it not? We may have the most sophisticated technology. We have invented the most sophisticated ways of travel. But do we have control how it operates? Just like in the 80s, there was a series of 2 plane crashes in Pakistan, and that was with the Pakistan International Airlines. So in the Indian side there were cartoons, and they started criticizing that PIA is not Pakistan International Airlines, it is Please Inform Allah. That is the meaning of PIA. As soon as you sit in the plane, you do not know what is going to happen. Please inform Allah. That was the cartoons. Next week, 1 or 2 Air India planes crashed, and cartoons appeared in Pakistan newspapers, and they said AI is not Air India, it is already informed. So one may think that okay, I have airplanes, I have cell phones, I have this, I have that. With technology, I am controlling. But with the best of technology, when things have to go wrong, they will go wrong. Therefore, we have to have belief, and that is the first principle. Some principles in change management. Quotes. Generally the theories we believe we call facts, and the facts we disbelieve we call theories. Human beings are perhaps never more frightening than when they are convinced beyond doubt that they are right. I believe in the sun even if it's not shining. I believe in love even when I am alone. And I believe in God even when He is silent. So therefore, let go by foundation on log principle. Log means love of God. Understanding that yes, there is a higher power, and that higher power is controlling us. So it is said faith can move mountains, and there is a beautiful story of Florence Chadwick. She was considered to be one of the greatest swimming champions. So she was trying to cross the Catalina Channel in California, and after swimming for 15.5 hours, she found that her entire strength was diminishing. She had successfully swum the English Channel before, and there was a fog all around, and she was feeling tired and fatigued. Her father, her mother, and other family members and coach, they were in a nearby boat and were coaxing her, you can still make it, do it, go ahead. She was trying to look ahead but could not see the coast because of the fog. And she felt it's too much for me, and she finally gave up. She was brought out of the cold water, and when her body actually started warming up from the icy chilled waters, she was told that the coast was only 1 mile away when she gave up. All she had to do was swim for another few minutes and she would have made it. And she became so desperate when she heard this, that if only I had seen, or if only I had believed in the words of what my parents had said, that yes, the coast is just a few meters away, I would have made it. So next time, on a sunny day, within a few weeks, she again swam and broke all the records. And she broke the men's existing record at that time by 2 hours, because of the kind of belief she had. And this is very important for us to understand, that I think of change and I feel, how can I change? So I may not have the power to change, but we should have belief that there is a higher power. There are powers beyond ourselves which can help us make that change. Go ahead. Expectations. Second, when one door closes, another door opens, but we so often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door, we do not see the ones which open for us. Alexander Graham Bell. And Alexander Graham Bell has an interesting story, that when he applied for the patent for the telephone, he was known as the person who made the telephone. there was another very powerful scientist at that time, his name was Gray. But he was delayed in applying for the patent by 2 hours. So Alexander Graham Bell made it to the patent office 2 hours before Gray could. And therefore Alexander Graham Bell's patent was accepted first. And therefore he became known as the father of telephone. So this is just a kind of a snippet to help us understand urgency is of great importance. That means if we delay doing something, then we may lose the chance forever. Therefore, it is not ordinary that all of you are getting this opportunity to get connected with a certain system of knowledge and understanding. So it is urgent that we try to understand these principles, and it is urgent that we try to do something about it. The next one says, we crucify ourselves between 2 thieves. As you know, Jesus Christ was crucified in the midst of 2 other people. Regret for yesterday and fear of tomorrow. These are the 2 thieves. So therefore, as far as expectations are concerned, let go by living by the will of God. So therefore, it is said that in most employees in organizations, dissatisfaction happens because of 5 reasons. First is, employees feel the failure to give credit for some suggestion they made, or failure to correct grievances. Third is, the employees feel we were not encouraged sufficiently. Fourth is, the employees feel, why was I criticized in front of others? And fifth is, failure on part of the management or the leader to ask the employees for their opinion and suggestion. So these are various expectations which employees may have, people may have. Just like during the Gorbachev era, there was a cartoon which showed people were not having food to eat, and there was a long line. And then the cartoon showed that this man was standing and frustrated. He said, I'm not getting any bread to eat, I'm going to kill this Gorbachev. And the second cartoon showed this man going away. Third cartoon showed the man came back, and the man in the line asked, hey, you came back, did you kill Gorbachev? And he said, no, the line to kill Gorbachev was longer than this bread line. And therefore I couldn't do anything. So people have expectations, and when the expectations are not fulfilled, whether they're employees or citizens or people in a community or family members or your own children, the emotions are stirred. And therefore it is not easy. And therefore we should understand that we are not in control, and people have expectation that they want to see some change, some result. Just like there is an example of a lumberjack or a woodcutter. He was asked by his employer, I will pay you 3 times salary. Take this axe. But the axe did not have a sharp blade. The axe was blunt. He was given a blunt axe which was ineffective, but told, we will pay you 3 times. Continue. He came back in half a day and surrendered that axe. And he said, I want to go back to original salary, but give me good axe. He said, why? Because when I am hitting the wood with my axe, I want to see something happening. I want to see the wood pieces flying. Otherwise, what is the point? You are simply asking me to keep on doing this, but I don't see anything happening. So there is an expectation, and that expectation has to be fulfilled. Therefore, the third principle is judgment. Judgment is, consider what you think justice requires and decide accordingly. Never give your reasons, for your judgment will probably be right, but your reasons will certainly be wrong. So you may judge certain people in certain ways, but then one has to be forgiving. Because unless we are willing to overlook and forgive others, we cannot expect that from ourselves. So in this day and age, to maintain and sustain relationships, this is one of the most important principles. And therefore, this is also a very important part of changing. Not only should we control or modify our expectations and be flexible in our expectations, we should also be forgiving towards other people and therefore modify our judgmental mentality. And this is an important principle. So there was this story of a sadhu who was taking bath in the Sangam and he came out in Prayag. And there was this hoodlum waiting outside and he spit upon him. The sadhu went inside again, took a bath, came out. Again this Gunda was sitting and he spit upon him twice. Again he quietly went inside, took a bath, came out. This Gunda was spitting upon him every time. Again and again the sadhu was entering into the Sangam, taking a bath and coming out. After a long time, this Gunda became tired. He called this sadhu, fell at his feet and said, I have tried my best to provoke you into anger by spitting upon you. And by repeatedly spitting upon you, I am becoming dehydrated. You are not becoming angry? What is this? And the sadhu said, angry? My dear sir, you are my greatest well-wisher. That today on Ekadashi day, by your mercy, you could take bath in the Sangam 108 times. Therefore I think you are my great well-wisher. So that was his vision. That was his ability to see things in a certain perspective. And therefore, in every episode, the only way we can be forgiving is when we try to see something positive. And then only things can move forward. And the fourth thing is, we all have choices to make. And the way we make choices will help us change. Choices are the hinges of destiny. The hardest thing to learn in life is which bridge to cross and which to burn. When you have to make a choice and don't make it, that is in itself a choice. Like that. So you have to make the right choices by integrity and honor. So what is the difference between integrity and honesty? Honesty is to speak what you have done. And integrity is to do what you speak about. Therefore, honesty is the first step. But then higher than honesty is to actually follow a lifestyle as per our convictions. And this is an important principle. So now the last part of our presentation is how to let go, how to make this philosophy of judgment, expectations and all of these things happen. So there are 4 stages. Stage 1 is, I can't control what is happening in the world, and understand the principle that I am not the controller. And what should be the attitude? That of humility. Understand my insignificant situation. I tell the story of 2 ants who saw an elephant coming. One ant looked at the elephant and told the other ant, let us beat him up. Let us beat up the elephant. And the other ant says, forget it, he is alone, we are 2, we should forgive him. So these are 2 ants, and this is their vision. So many times we overestimate our own position, our own power. But the first step is humility. It comes from the Latin word humus, which means soil. And it is the soil in which the seed of love can be sown. Therefore, it is a basic principle. Stage 2 is to say, I can accept that if it doesn't, there is some good reason for it, though I can't see what that may be. So that means you have to accept a superior intelligence, and the attitude should be that of patience. Patience is very important. Just like a man was chased by a group of soldiers, and he was running and running and running, and he entered into a cave. This man was extremely powerful and strong, and when he entered the cave, he felt he's finished, he's cornered, and his other tormentors, they will kill him with weapons. I am so powerful and strong, but today I am defeated. As soon as he entered into the cave, suddenly a tiny insignificant spider was just crawling near his foot. His first instinct was to beat him to death. But he said, today I am also like this spider, being chased by these other fellows, unable to do anything. He brushed aside the spider and didn't kill him. The spider crawled upon the entrance of the cave and started making a web. And within a few minutes, the spider had created a web all across the entrance of the cave, and the spider was situated. The other soldiers came searching with their guns. They came to this cave and instinctively they felt we should enter. One of the other soldiers pointed out, hey, there is a spider's web and it is still intact. That means it is not possible that anyone has entered. If anyone had entered, they would have broken through this web. The web is intact, nobody is inside. And they walked away. That day, this man who had so much of pride in his own power realized that sometime even a spider can save your life. Therefore, we may have great pride in our own power, but we are insignificant. And by supreme will, many things are happening. It is only a matter of time we acknowledge it, accept it, and patiently await that change. Stage 3 is, I am not God, I don't know what that good reason is, but if I remain open, then I will find it. God is all good and all loving. So the attitude should be that of faith and confidence. Just like if the train is standing at one spot, even a 1-inch piece of wood, if you keep in the wheels, the train cannot move. But when the train is in full momentum, even if there is a 5-foot wall, it can crash through it. So therefore, once you start making changes, with the momentum of those changes, various obstacles and walls can be crashed through. But if you don't begin, then even the most insignificant obstacle will stop you. Therefore, the whole idea is we must have faith and begin the process of transformation right now. Go ahead. And lastly, stage 4 is, I have to let go of what I think it should be, and I will find it far better. Harmonize with the plan of the Supreme Intelligence, and the attitude should be that of surrender. So therefore, we have to begin the process of that transformation, and surrender means, let me prioritize. Let me give some time to what I feel is important. Therefore, I have been successful in certain areas of my life, but maybe success in career, financial success is not the only indication of what success means. What about my own self? What about mental peace, satisfaction? What about harmony in relationships? What about so many other things which are not quantifiable? Do I think I need to improve on those fronts? If yes, then I need help. And therefore, that kind of help and therapy is available in this kind of an association, and that is what Sanjeevani is all about. The next program which we are going to have will be on the 29th of October, and we will actually begin the process of understanding how that transformation begins. And stage by stage the basic principles coming from the Bhagavad Gita and explaining how you can actually transform all your negative energies into something positive and realize the real self. That process will begin, and the first 2 lectures in that series will be on October 29th and November 19th, and the topic will be going beyond the 8 walls. So this body is like a wall or a fort made of 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, mind, intelligence and ego. And we are within that fortress. So how we can understand our own system properly according to the principles of Gita, and how it will help us in our personal lives, in our dealings, and our family lives, those principles will be fascinatingly brought out in that discussion. So at this stage, I would like to end my presentation with this plea that the whole idea of today's presentation was to impress upon all of you that yes, all of you are a group of very highly successful people, and we acknowledge that and we congratulate you for that. At the same time, we must realize that is not the end of life. There are still so many wonderful things which are still awaiting us, but there are challenges before we can actually acknowledge and start making change in that direction. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Gauranga Prabhu, for this wonderful presentation. Before I invite Dr. Shingare to speak, I would like to ask, we can have a short question answer session for about 10 to 15 minutes. So if any one of you have questions, you could either raise your hand, we have our volunteers who will bring the mic to you, or you could write your question down on a piece of paper that is provided to you within the file, and you can give it to our volunteers.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your class about greatly successful people having difficulty in approaching a so-called spiritual master or guru. So can you throw some light on this subject?
Yes. For every field, there is a teacher or an authority. So, as doctors, you became doctors because, you approached certain authorities. So when we approach an authority, we should know that in every field there are authorities. So just like in medical field there are authorities, similarly in technology there are authorities. If you want to repair your car, you have to go to an authority, mechanic. So therefore, there is a story of a man who goes to a mechanic. The mechanic opens the bonnet, takes a hammer, hits it 2 times, closes it, turns on the engine, and it is going fine. And the man says, how much? Mechanic says, 1,000 rupees. He said, what? For hitting once with a hammer, 1,000 rupees? What is the breakup? He said, 10 rupees for hitting with hammer, 990 rupees to know where to hit. Because if you simply give hammer, that is not sufficient. So therefore, a patient comes to you and you give him a pill. But to an ignorant person, all pills look same. Right? So what is the way of curing? If simply by taking pill one could get cured, nobody would go to a doctor. They would go to pharmacy shop, and it is not that you just blindly walk around and pick up anything and then you eat it and you become all right. No. There is a science behind it, and you have to go through so many years to understand that science, and then you become an authority. So when it comes to any other field, we are willing to accept authority. Right? We are willing to accept that authority and do as he says. If your television is not working, suddenly there is some discrepancy. So you try telling your family, I will repair our television. And I said, no, you may be a great soul, but allow a qualified technician to touch it. He said, no, I have a lot of experience in opening such things. And we have doubt whether you'll be able to close it properly or not. You may open it, but there will be big difficulty later. So nobody, even your loved ones, will not allow you, because they know you are not specialist in this field. So therefore, when it comes to spirituality, that is the only field where people think specialization is not required. Anyone can do anything, speak anything, and whatever he may profess is all right.
The successful people, they are so much in possession of fame, wealth and influence and power that they may not even feel that they need spiritual guidance or spiritual authority to guide them in life.
Exactly. That's why in the course of my talk I said that the most important principle is this kind of gatherings provide the inspiration. As I said, you cannot put a gun on someone's head and ask them, change. Better you change. No. You have to provide inspiration. Right? You cannot force anyone. Just like I tell the story, Gauranga Prabhu, he tells the story of how he would tell people to quit smoking. He was preaching in Pakistan. It was a very difficult area. And if people became angry, they could kill you also. But many people would come who had smoking habit. So he would tell them, by smoking, there are 3 advantages. And one is, dogs will never bite you. Number 2, thieves will never come to your house. And number 3, you will never grow old. And his patient would say, really? I never knew this advantage. Why it is like this? He said, because you will be walking with so many diseases, you won't be able to walk straight, so you will take a walking stick. So by seeing that walking stick, no dog will come near you. So dogs will never bite you. And because of lung infection, you will be coughing all night. So thieves will know somebody is awake, they will never come and rob your house. And you will never grow old because you will die young. Okay, so this is just some information you can give at the most. But you can't put a security guard 24 hours to make sure somebody doesn't smoke and keep pulling out a cigarette anytime he puts it in his mouth. Not possible. That inspiration has to come from within. So similarly, if someone gets an inspiration for spirituality, it comes automatically in the proper association. And that is very important. And it can come in so many ways. Just like there is this famous story of a drug dealer in Los Angeles. He had 12 murders to his credit. He was running away from the police. And when he saw the Hare Krishna satsang, kirtan, with mridang, kartal and a whole group of devotees on the road, he thought, good place to hide in the midst of all of them. So he went in the middle of all of them. The police was searching and searching, could not find him. And he came with the devotees, surrounded by them, protected by them, back to the Hare Krishna temple. He looked at the temple and he saw the devotees and he said, wow, this is a great place to hide. So what was his inspiration in the temple? Hiding. And he said, police will never come in their wildest dream to this place to search for me. And their hairstyle is also very good. That police won't recognize me also. So he changed his hairstyle, dressed, became Hare Krishna. And he saw that everyone is taking some beads in their hand, in the bag. He had no desire to chant. So he just took a bag without the beads. And he would just sit in the temple and keep shaking his hand. And he said, this is what they are doing every day, I will also do it. But at least they allow me to eat and sleep and leave me alone. That's good. He did that for a few weeks. Then he thought, anyway I am shaking my hand, let me try to add the bead and shake and see what makes a difference. And he tried that. After 1 year he approached the temple president and said, sir, I am not a devotee, I am not an aspiring devotee also, I am an escaped convict. drug dealer with 12 murders. Police is chasing me. I'm a wanted man. And the temple president said, thank God, in the last 1 year the police didn't raid our temple. Otherwise temple would have been closed down by now. Immediately go and surrender to the police. Surrender to Krishna can come later. First surrender there. So he went running to the police and the police said, why have you come here? This is not a Hare Krishna temple. And he said, you didn't recognize me and this is my name. Check out the files. And they opened the files and said, hey, wow, we're the same man. The case was reopened. He was brought in front of the judge. The judge looked at him and said, hey, what kind of a dress are you wearing? Who are you? And what do you do? And he said, I was a convict. I was, with drugs and did so many murders, but now my character is reformed. I chant Hare Krishna every day. Get up in the morning, attend Mangal Aarti, 4:30 in the morning, go out, distribute food to the poor, distribute books, helping in society. The judge heard all this and he said, case dismissed. File is closed. He is given honorable, discharge. The police chief got up and started screaming, 12 murders, your honor. You can't leave him like this. And the judge said, just see, he gets up in the morning 3:30, takes cold water bath, and then he does all these things. This is worse than jail life. Even in American jails, they don't have this kind of system. On his own, he's accepted jail life, so at least save some government money. Let Hare Krishna only take care of him. And the interesting thing is, I was in Ohio, Athens, doing a college program with some devotees from New Vrindavan. And I saw a man going in saffron. And I said, hey, seems like a devotee. He said, no, he's a jail convict. All prison inmates in America, the dress is saffron. In India it is white and black. In America all over it is saffron. Because if they run away, then they should be able to spot him from a distance.
The most visible color. So that many times when Hare Krishna devotees go, people mistake. Maybe escaped convict or something. So that is the color. So therefore here is an example of someone who had no inspiration, no desire, but just got the right association. So if you get the right association, miracles can happen. Therefore this Sanjeevani program is providing that favorable association and ambience. So even if you have come here simply out of curiosity, but still, if you get the right attitude, things can start happening. Any other questions? Audience?
How important is to know about rebirth cycle?
About rebirth?
Rebirth cycle. We take it as a theory, we take it as a fact. But how pertinent it is to our life to know about it.
Okay. It is just like if you have to travel from Bombay to Delhi. It is like a journey. Life is like a journey. And the first
Principle of journey is starting point and destination. So now we are in a journey from Bombay to Delhi. And suppose we are at Surat. So that means when I am at Surat, I still have a long way to go to Delhi. Or then I come ahead and I come till Kota. But still I have long distance to go to Delhi. So when I am at Surat, how important for me is it to know the distance and the direction to Delhi? It's very important, because unless I know, how will I catch the next connecting train? So therefore, please try to look at this whole rebirth cycle as journey. And every birth you take is like a station. So therefore, the more number of stations you get down in and spend time, longer is your arrival in Delhi delayed. So if you take a non-stop train from Bombay to Delhi and do not get off, you go straight to Delhi. But if you keep getting down at every station and spend 1 or 2 years settling in that station, how many years it will take for you to reach Delhi. So therefore, number of years spent in a particular body is like number of years spent in that station. So the only thing is you lose time. That is all. So therefore, rebirth is, if you keep going Bombay, Surat, Surat, Bombay, Bombay, Surat, Surat, Bombay all the time, you will never reach Delhi. So that is continuous rebirth. So you have to move in the right direction without detour, without stop. Then you will reach the destination. So therefore Gita is like a travel guide. It is a journey map. It tells you, sir, you are here now. You are here in Mathura, you are here in Kota. You still have 2 hours more to go. Take this direction. Don't stop. So therefore Gita is a book for all, but just like travel guide is not for only Hindus. You don't get Hindu travel guide, Muslim travel guide, Christian travel guide. For Hindus to travel, use this. So it is not that there are different tracks. Everyone goes in the same direction only. Is it not? Just like in British period, our Shaman Prabhu was telling this story that in 3rd class compartment, okay, the caste system was there and this was changing and everything was gradually happening. So a person would come with drinking water. Previously they didn't have Bisleri and all this. So he would take this bucket of water and say, Hindu pani, Hindu pani, Hindu pani, Hindu pani, and all the Hindus would take out their lota and fill up their lotas and they would feel satisfied. We drank water, but it was given by Hindu only. So Jat apna raha gaya. So it is protected. That fellow would go, get down, after some time come back from the other side, and the same fellow with the same bucket would say, Muslim pani, Muslim pani, Muslim pani, and all Muslims would come out with their lota. And they would think, we have done our job, we have protected our caste. But he was the same guy using the same water in the same bucket, but marketing to 2 different categories. Because they felt that we have to keep these things separate and things like that. So many artificial divisions were created. But if you look at life as a journey, and if you look at destination from that point of view, whether it is a Hindu, Christian, Muslim, Jew, whoever is traveling, they are all together in the journey. And they all have a common aim to reach the destination. So in a train, if a Rajdhani leaves from Bombay Central, then the whole compartment is filled with Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, Sikhs, and all of them have common concerns of comfort, travel, and reaching destination safely. So why so much of ruckus is created in the name of religion is because the purpose of the journey is not clarified. So then artificially you are creating, this is Hindu compartment. In the same Rajdhani, if you say this is Hindu compartment, this is Muslim compartment, Christian compartment, but they are all tied together and is all going in the same direction only, what difference it makes? But this clear insight is not being provided, and therefore artificial divisions are created in the name of religion, and people misunderstand what reality is all about. So philosophy means love of truth, and truth is only one. So if you say Delhi, then there is only one Delhi. You can't say that, you can't ask Hindus, what do you think about Delhi? Said, yeah, it is somewhere near UP and Haryana in that area. And you ask someone else, what do you think about Delhi? Yeah, it is somewhere in Assam. Will you say that? No, Delhi is Delhi, where it is, it is. So it is not dependent on someone's conception. So to think that Hindu's conception of God, Christian's conception of God, Muslim conception of God, it is as crazy as saying that my conception of destination Delhi, his conception of destination Delhi, their concept of destination Delhi. Destination is destination. You have to reach there. So therefore, with this understanding, it will be very clear that misunderstanding is created because of lack of proper insight and knowledge. Okay? With this, I would put an end to this discussion and thank all of you for sparing your valuable time to come here amongst all of us and grace this occasion. And my special thanks to Dr. Shingare for sparing his valuable time from his extremely busy schedule. And thanks to the Spiritual Care Department with Dr. Shanbag and his team of very dedicated, enthusiastic devotees who have put together this program with a lot of effort. I thank you all very much.